All right, everybody. Welcome back. I apologize. I absolutely hit the wrong button. Instead of hitting the video that notifies you that the overtime will start, went up and hit the absolute wrong button that says "in the show." So waiting for everybody to come back. I guess we lost quite a few viewers. Waiting for the people to trickle back in, and then we will start answering some questions. Just to the staff, though, obviously the comments will be new. Some on here, the old ones I will not be able to display on our show, so I'll have to read them as we respond to them. So let me go ahead.
Yeah.
And Chris is gone. So.
Brandon, are you able to get to the questions that were asked in the old stream? If you go
yes, I can still see them. That's why I didn't leave the room. I'm in both rooms at one time.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
so I can still see all the questions.
Okay, gotcha.
I just won't be able to display them. Okay. Chris is no longer here. He needed to go. But the question is, would the CIAA benefit?
Ask that question anyway, Brandon, because I think it's worth.
Okay. Would the CIAA benefit from adopting a PSIC style week 11? I'm sorry, Chuck.
No, I wanted to say, go ahead and ask that question. I think it's a good discussion topic.
Oh, okay. Am I not being heard now? You guys can hear. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Would the CIAA benefit from adopting a PSAC style week 11 for the entire conference? So what was your opinion on that, Chuck?
Absolutely, they would. Now, first of all, we get so consumed at this time of the year about playoffs, and not everything is about playoffs, because we have to remember it's only 28 teams that make the playoffs. 142 or however many it is don't. So I don't like the fact that the SIAC and the CIAA don't play an 11-game schedule, because you're taking opportunities away from your student athletes to play another game. That's the most important thing to me. Let them have that game. Whether it benefits them or not, whether it benefits them or not, you don't always know, right? Because people always ask, like, well, if Virginia State had an 11th game this weekend, would that help? Depends on who it is, right? If that 11th game was against another winning team, yes, absolutely, it helps them if they play that game and they win. If that 11th game is against a team that's 1-9, no, it doesn't help them at all. They're actually better off just standing on the schedule that they have. So you never really know. It just depends on who that opponent is going to be. And obviously it's very hard to forecast whether you're going to be in that position and what their record's going to be. So I think you kind of have to look at it from the standpoint of play an 11-game schedule, which you're permitted to do, so that your student athletes have that opportunity.
Chuck, I think that's a great point.
That's how I've always felt about it.
I mean, and quite frankly, it's something with the attendance that some of the schools have in both of the HBCUs, there's a big loss of revenue. It might be nice to have some people in the stands and paying to be at your school.
Right. And then go
ahead. No, go ahead. Move on. No. Please continue.
There's a lot of competition within the HBCU conferences. So CIAA teams want to play MEAC teams, and those can be revenue games for them. So it makes it more palatable for them to play those games and then still have 10 Division II games to go on to your record for things like your playoff resume. Because, of course, as we know, we've talked about all the time, when you play Division I teams, it doesn't count towards your playoff standings. So now you're basically taking 2 games away from what could be a playoff resume. So it's just, yes, absolutely. Play more games.
Okay. Mr. Captain Crazy wants to know, why can't the South Atlantic Conference get 3 teams in? It's just not happening, right? I mean, just too much between the two.
The part where we get all snippy or not?
What's that?
Sorry?
No, is this the part where we get snippy and everything? Or are we
Well, when you look at it, and we talked about it the other day on the show.
It has happened before, but this isn't.
It's not going to happen in this situation, right? Because you've got 3. You got a SIAC team, a CIAA team, most likely, and then you've got 3 Gulf South teams. So that leaves two SAC teams that potentially could get in. One probably for sure. The other one, it just kind of depends on how things shake out. But when you look at the numbers, I don't see a third one getting in. Not at 3 losses.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, the GSC just got too much, don't you think?
It has
Justin,
happened before,
too?
but it's not going to happen this year.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I agree. I think they've got too much this year, and right. I mean, and that's it, Chuck. Like in this situation, I don't think it's impossible in general, but I think with what we see here, I don't see it happening.
Matt wants to know whose or what team is the scariest team that hasn't quite nailed down a playoff berth this year. I believe you had started that one, Chuck.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It kind of depends on how far down you want to go, because there's teams that are kind of, on the periphery of the top 7, but in the rankings that we could look at. And then there's teams that maybe are on the outside. We talked about them earlier, but I think Limestone is a team that could kind of get in at the last minute, like they did last year. And I think that they could be dangerous if they do. They're playing very well right now.
This one for you as well, Chuck. Cal versus East Stroudsburg has to be an elimination game this weekend, right? That was the question mark.
Well, it definitely is for the loser. At least I think most likely the loser is completely. If it's East Stroudsburg, they're definitely out. I think if it's Cal, they're most likely out as well. Not a given that the winner is in. I think Cal's pretty solidly in the field if they win. Not completely a given for East Stroudsburg, but I'm approaching it as a playoff game. I think most likely the winner is in and the loser is out. It's not quite that simple, but that's pretty much how I'm looking at it. So yeah, absolutely. Huge game there.
Coming right back at you, buddy. Is Tiffin in win or lose this week?
I'll throw that to Whit. What do you? Yes, they are.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
any
no
team
doubt.
that's going from unbeaten to 1 loss in their current super regions probably isn't any lower than like a 4 seed, I think, at that point. But yeah, I mean, Tiffin's got a nice body of work, and one loss is not going to drop them from the field. Chuck, if you were to give a kind of circle back to Super Region 1 at that point, where do you think they would fit in? Is it somewhere in that 4 neighborhood, or?
Yeah, probably. It depends on what happens with a couple other teams, but yeah, I think that they're still solidly in the top half there. But as far as just making the field, even if they lose this weekend, they're still going to be the highest ranked Great Midwest team. Nobody can overtake them just based on record. So even if they weren't up as high as they are, they'd be in the field even if it came down to their access, which it won't. But yeah, I think even with a loss, they're still probably around 4.
All right. Michael wanted to know, does earned access mean an automatic bid for winning the conference? No, it's the highest ranked team in a conference. If they are ranked in the top 9, will get the 7th spot. This is a very confusing thing to people who aren't familiar with it. So the fact that you're asking a question, you're probably asking that question for many other folks as well.
Yeah, I would just say if it is new to you, if you are a little bit confused about it, go look for my columns on the website. I know I'm kind of shamelessly plugging there, but I do have a Q&A that kind of lays out everything from the basics to the more advanced in the weeds stuff. So if you do have questions like that, and we know it's confusing, go look for that column. It'll give you a lot of the answers you're looking for.
Lauren said, excuse me, missing Antonio tonight, but totally understands given the week in the RMAC. We enjoy having him on too. All right. Super Region 2 question. Chuck and Justin. Does LR jump West Florida, excuse me, with a win this week? Should get a big strength of schedule boost, and West Florida will take a hit playing a winless team.
So I'm not going to say it's not possible. I don't know. I would have liked it if Lenore Ryan was playing Mars Hill, I think their case gets a little bit stronger when you start looking at the numbers and the wins against ranked opponents and things like that. I think the case is stronger. And I'm not saying it's not strong, but I don't know that that's very likely to happen. I don't know that I see that happening. I guess anything's possible, but I think if they were playing a team like Mars Hill with the numbers that Mars Hill had, beating another ranked opponent, stuff like that, I think their case gets a little bit stronger. Chuck, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Before I answer, Whit, do you have some thoughts on that? Because I know that we kind of talked. Yeah, well, I'll defer to Whit.
All right.
Justin, this sounds like a bet. We're going to bet some type of food that can be delivered to us remotely that we both enjoy. I'm going to go out and say, because no one else is standing up for LR, so darn it, I'm going to, especially the committee. I'm going to take LR to win this game, get their SOS right up near 500. West Florida's SOS is going to take a pretty big dive playing Chowan. And I think that they are going to have the beauty points, then having their third win over 500 or better, which will even them out with West Florida. And the only thing different then is they just got one less loss. You can put LRU on the 4 line. Stamp it right now. Justin, we got a bet.
Well, I didn't say that wasn't going to happen. I just said
no. Too bad. So sorry. You're too late. Go get your Argos pom poms.
No. Right. I'm just like I agree with everything you're saying.
You're not. I'm saying stamp it. Okay, Chuck, you can play referee now.
No, I'm with you, Whit. I think if LR wins this weekend, you go to 10-1, a little bit of an SOS bump, and I think Inkblot kind of projected that West Florida was taking a .40 drop because of playing winless Chowan. So they're going to come down. I think LR goes over them at that point.
Okay. Get him. If Ouachita loses, is Missouri Western in? That's what Chris would like to know. Sure looks like that to me, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, the other two comments we had, I've got new ones starred, but Ryan says he needs the bosses in Jefferson City. Godforsaken Domino screwed up our pizzas tonight for dinner. Put freaking vegetables on it. I feel you there, Ryan.
Is that Tennessee?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm feeling pretty smart about that right now.
Congratulations.
And you don't have the map and Ferg's background to help you, so I'm impressed.
I know that's like a cheat code. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So so that, let me make sure. I think that's going to be all the comments from the last show, or for the last stream, whatever.
I think we have some from the new as well.
Yes, I've been stagnant. Okay.
Yeah, there's one. Right. We just answered that one. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, go ahead. What do we got here? And we can actually see these now.
Kind of neat when we can see them.
It's amazing how much better it is. So Wesley would like to know, has Chuck changed his mind on the Slippery Rock quarterback being considered for the Harlon Hill Award?
Well, first of all, let's go back to why I made that statement. And it's a little bit nuanced, but let's revisit this. We have to remember the schools nominate the players. Okay. It's not just us out there socializing it. It's not anybody else, saying this player should be nominated. The schools have to nominate their player, and they can only nominate one. That's very, very important to what I said before. I said I didn't think he was going to be a Harlon Hill candidate because I expected that Slippery Rock would nominate Kyle Sheets because he's an outstanding wide receiver. He's one of the best in the country. He's having a phenomenal season, and he's getting NFL attention. And this is something that they could do to further his name, help elevate his profile. So I fully expected that Slippery Rock would nominate Kyle Sheets. Now that we're closer to the end of the season, they may not do that. Kyle still had a good season, but he doesn't have numbers that are got him a Harlon Hill. For that matter, neither does Braden Long, but 32 touchdowns to 2 interceptions is pretty freaking amazing for Braden Long. So yeah, maybe they will change direction and go that route. But I wasn't saying he wasn't a candidate. I didn't expect him to be Slippery Rock's nominee. That was the point I was making a couple weeks ago.
Chuck is Zembrowski says fellow Polak like myself. Is he still your leading candidate?
I think so, Whit. And, and again, when I say that, it's not just what I think, it's what I think is going to happen. A couple of years ago, I said I was adamantly sure that Austin Reed was the best football player in Division II, but Tyson Bagent was going to win the Harlan Hill Trophy. This year, I feel John Matoka is without a doubt the best football player in Division II, but I think Zach Zabrowski will most likely win the Harlan Hill Trophy. I don't know though. I mean, Matoka's has had some real moments in recent games that I think are definitely going to sway some voters.
I'm still ready to die on that hill.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a good horse to hitch your cart to, Whit. I can certainly give you that.
Heather would like to know.
That horse is dying, but yes.
Heather would like to know: does the loss between Central Washington and UTPB knock one of them out? What happens to the loser?
Heather, where were you? We talked about this 20 minutes ago. Come on, get with the program. No,
well, she's probably still on the other stream that I stopped.
Yeah. And she may not realize that this is kind of the more testy version of our show, number 2, the overtime. But no, on a serious note, Central Washington, they would kind of fall down to the back half of that top 7, in my opinion. Then have a road game at that point. And it'd be, if you're bringing up that's kind of what we're looking at. And the challenge they have is that they don't have as many quality wins, which is the column right in the middle versus 500 or better, or better than 500, I should say. Mm-hmm. That's our issue is with Central Washington, is they just don't have enough results there to help them stay in a real good spot. If they have one loss, they're going to move down the page a little bit. I still think that they're going to end up being at round 1 at Western Colorado. I've said that all along. I still just kind of feel like that's going to happen. On the flip side, if Permian were to lose, Permian's going to have 2 losses, but at the same time, they're not really going to have anybody there to take that 7th spot from them, in my opinion, because they're going to still have a high strength of schedule. Right now, if we take a look at Permian, they're at 524. They're going to probably get a 30-point bump for playing an unbeaten team this week. So they're going to be in a strong position to still be in the playoffs, win or lose. So that's kind of how I see that.
All right. Let's stay in Super Region 4 with this question, Matt. Mankato, are they in, even if they lose at home to Duluth?
This is the if the committee decides to kind of overstep a little bit what we're looking at and really start to make judgments on teams and go away from the numbers, I think that's where we could see something like this. And here's what I mean. Right now, Duluth's sitting there with 2 losses, as we can see on the page, but they have a strength of schedule that's 411, which is the lowest on this page. Okay. They're going to finish, no matter whether they win or lose this game, they're going to finish with a strength of schedule right around 450, 460. That still looks super low on this page. Okay. Mankato, on the other hand, if we move on up there, they're 510 for strength of schedule right now. They're going to get a 30-point, bump for playing a strong team like Duluth. So they're going to have a separation, Brandon, in strength of schedule, I'm guessing, of 80 points. That's really high when we're looking at these numbers. Right. So I don't know if they're going to look at Duluth as truly being in a spot where the head-to-head would kick in, where they look at them as the same. Chuck, you've been looking at these numbers with me each week. We chat about them. What are your thoughts on that scenario?
Well, in this particular question, I think is very interesting, because if Duluth would beat Mankato, then you've got 2 teams that are 9-2 with a head-to-head result that seemingly resolves that. But when we get to this point in the year, you really do look at the complete body of work, and I think that the full body of work is still going to favor Minnesota State. I can't be sure about that, but I think it's pretty likely that the top 7 that we see now, the top 7 we had last week, and we're going to have again this week, I think it's very likely that's going to be our playoff field in this region. I just don't see anybody else in a good position to jump in there. It possibly could be Duluth if they get that big win over Mankato, but there's really nobody else here who's even in position to jump into the top 7. To going back to the previous question about, well, what if Permian Basin loses or Central loses? They're both safely in this field.
Chuck, my secondary concern with this, Chuck, is if you take a look, Mankato's got 3 wins over better than 500, where that would be Duluth's first win of such. So they're really not an apples to apples comparison if we weren't talking about a head-to-head, contest.
Yeah, and there could be some shifting of those numbers a little bit when we get into the final results. But yes, that's kind of what I meant with by the full body work. I think it still favors Minnesota State in that comparison.
Yeah,
hey,
and for guys, for those who have kind of asked a little bit about, is there a chance like a Wayne State or an Angelo can get in? With 3 losses right now, and both of them are going to have their strength of schedule numbers go down from what they're currently at on the page. I just don't see where they're going to all of a sudden say, yeah, we need to get one of those 2 teams in. So Chuck, we've kind of discussed 1 through 7. It's just a matter of reshuffling where those teams are and seeding. And then keep in mind, like always, guys, the number 1 team gets to stay at home. You have a bye. 2, 3, and 4 all get to host. And then 5, 6, and 7 go travel. It's not tied to seeding at that point. 5, 6, and 7 are free agents to go play where they want. Not where they want, where they get assigned to.
All right. Answer this question for me, man. I'll be right back.
Does Central Missouri risk not having a home playoff game with their strength of schedule about to take a dip playing Lincoln this week? Oh, boy, I would look for any way possible to get out of that game.
Natural disaster.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, don't we know that they're going to be at 500 anyway?
Well, I don't know completely because remember, I don't think that Lincoln has. I'd have to go look, but I don't know if Lincoln has completed a full MIAA schedule. I think maybe they have.
Yeah, almost, with the exception of Pitt, right?
Yeah, so they're going to be right at 500, I think, even with Lincoln. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to come out of that 10-1. Obviously, we know that. I think that I don't think it changes much for them at that point. Do you?
No, I think with a win and Pitt with a win, Pitt's still going to have the head-to-head, but I still see both of them hosting a playoff game, and that's really what we're talking about at the end of the day here.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that it's probably not going to change anything for them. Let's see what else we got.
I am back. Thank you, man. I want to say, well, let's go ahead and take the serious one. Because I think Matt would enjoy talking about that. Let me take this down. We'll go back to this. After this past weekend, does anyone see the panel or anyone on the panel see any team possibly being shipped out of a region? Matt, we've talked about this a few times.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling the ship may have sailed on this idea. The only thing that I could see is if Indy's truly, like on that number, 7 line or something, maybe something happens with where they don't need to play the 2 automatically. Otherwise, I mean, I think they're just going to lock up Ferris State with Grand Valley, and the assumption Grand Valley still stays at 2 and has a game to host right away. It just feels like we're on a collision course for that, if I'm going to be really frank. Anybody else?
What about?
Yeah.
Remember, if Indianapolis makes it via earned access, they would have to go to number 2 by rule.
Right.
Yep.
Number 2 within their region. Isn't that how the rule is, Brandon?
Or shipped out for a different number 2 as well.
Okay,
If
so
it
they
was
can go to a
really
different region, but it has to be to a number 2.
Right. Basically, they're saying the 2 seed gets to play the theoretical weakest team.
Gotcha.
Is what they're doing.
So that's very limiting.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, I mean, then you're talking about Ferris State not playing them, but I think Ferris State ends up. I don't see where there would be a trade if Grand Valley is playing Indy. then that means Grand Valley's not there for a trade on the other side. If you want to send someone to Grand Valley right there, so I think that's your problem. I mean, I know we're getting really inside baseball here, but if you're going to trade Ferris to another super region, you have to have somebody that you can trade back that they can go to play at. And when you have the other best seeds being Pitt, Central Mo, and Harding potentially in that scenario, you don't have much flexibility with who out east can go play them. That's not a flight away.
Right. All right. A couple more. This one's for you, Matt.
Two.
State is still number one on Massie, even with.
Why don't we just since it's being pulled up? Why don't we take a 2-second for entertainment purposes? B, are you able to pull that up just to see what silliness is going on there? Because I mean, I'm sure that Kearney is beating Mankato and Bemidji and a world of other teams right now.
I think Central Oklahoma was in there, and they're like,
yes.
Yeah, I think Central Oklahoma was in there at 5-5, and come on.
What's the MIAA count on teams that they have normally the amount of teams they have in the top 20, the over-under is like 9.
So before, so do your make your guesses, and then I'll add them.
I'm gonna guess somehow they've softened on that a little, and I'm gonna say only 6 MIAA teams this time in the Massie.
Justin, how many do you think?
Ooh, I don't really have an accurate answer because I'll be honest, I haven't looked at.
Oh, I know. It's just for fun anyway.
How many did you say, Whit?
I said 6, but I'm almost instantly regretting that, thinking I should go higher.
I was going to go 5.
I was looking earlier.
I'm going to go 7.
Oh, you know the answer, Chuck?
Because Massie's
I was looking at it earlier, so I think I already know the answer.
Yeah.
I'll go
actually
7, just to mess with Whit. 7.
7. Okay. Actually,
closer.
Whit nailed it.
Did I really?
Yeah.
This is like Northern Sun trivia. I'm just knocking balls out of the park tonight. Okay, so let's look at this. Yeah, I see Central Oklahoma is 16. Of course they are. I see.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I mean, come on.
How far down did the 3-7 Kearney? Oh, Kearney fell all the way down to 27, despite being 3-7. Okay. So what other silliness is there on here that we have to? This is actually, you know what? I got to be honest, guys. It's gonna sound wild. This might be the best Massie I've seen all year because it was so. Chuck, you and I, we used to crap on this all the time, and there used to be so much MIAA on here that it was hard to accurately assess what else you saw on the page. And I don't really have a huge beef with the rest of it if you just get rid of some of the silliness like that. What do you guys think?
Right.
Well, mine's Harding.
I honestly, I don't even pay that much attention to this. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah.
Only time I check it, guys, is when we're getting our point spreads for the Northern Sun Weekly for entertainment purposes.
Well, all right.
West Florida's all the way down to 21. Who pissed? They must have pissed off Massie or something.
All right, and I said one more. Somebody mentioned that Pitt State should not fall to number 2. They beat UCM head-to-head. They will be above Central Missouri. There's nothing to worry about there. Nothing, not a thing to worry about there.
Yeah, they shouldn't fall any further than 3.
All right, well, gentlemen, I think that will do it. Yes, John, a 3-way trade would be possible, but Dykstra asked that about moving teams out of region. I just don't have much of an appetite for it because I don't think it's going to happen unless it's forced upon them. I just don't think it will happen.
Right.
All right. Well, guess what? I think that'll do it for tonight. And we're going to end the stream and actually mean to end the stream this time. Thank you all for being with us, and thank you all for coming back after the first stream was disconnected. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. We will see you all next week on Inside D2 Football.
Yep. Selection Sunday next week.